Hello, and welcome to this success lesson on becoming an active learner brought to you by the Hartford Community College Learning Center. Today, you will learn how to take control of your own learning and how to study actively and effectively. So, I want to start out with this story, and this is a little example from a movie called Facing the Giants. So, in this story, a coach is talking with his high school football players before a big game, and they're going to play a team that's a lot better of them, and the players don't really believe that they can win and don't think they're that great. So the coach calls on one of the leaders of the team and asks him to do this exercise called the death crawl, where he has another player on his back and he crawls across the field on his hands and knees. And at the beginning, the player thinks maybe he can make it to the 20-yard line or the 30-yard line. So the coach actually decides to blindfold the player and just keeps yelling and encouraging him the whole time to do his very best, try his very best, forget where he thinks he can go, forget where he is on the field, but really just focus on giving his best effort. And it's actually a really inspiring scene because the football player pushes through his pain and he doesn't have his preconceived expectations, so that once he's given every effort that he can, he takes off his blindfold and realizes that he has made it across the entire football field, not just the 20 yards he thought that he could go. So if you apply this to your learning, imagine what your success would be like in school if you had the attitude of trying your very best, of not setting expectations for yourself, but thinking you can try your very best. So when we think about active learning, it's a combination of that mindset of giving it your all, of being fully invested, and also the skill set of some strategies for active learning. So the mindset, I can't give that to you. Your professors can't give that to you. That has to come from within. But the skill set, I can definitely teach you some of those strategies. And with that combination of the mindset of trying your best, you will really find success in your studies. So we want to avoid being a passive learner, right? Expecting instructors just to give us information, expect just to slack off and do well, but we want to actively be a participant in our own learning and to take initiative. Three principles that you can apply to become that active learner is to use prior learning, quality of processing, and quantity of processing. Now, those sound like scientific fancy words, but we're going to break them down. So, prior learning is basically just connecting what you are learning right now to what you already know. So, I'm sure some of you play instruments. Perhaps if you want to learn how to play violin, you can um, draw on the knowledge of piano if you already know how to play piano and see the similarities there, and that can propel you forward. Same thing in your classes. A lot of your studies are foundational and they build on each other. So as you learn something new, you can connect it to something that you've already learned, or think about how this will help you in the future and make those connections. Next, quality of processing information in a quality way. So not just trying to memorize and regurgitate things on tests and quizzes, but using deep processing strategies. So for example, you could create mind maps, little thought bubbles and organizational sheets to organize your thoughts and ideas. You can make outlines of information. You can make practice quizzes, right? Anticipate what your instructor might ask you on a quiz. And you could teach the information to a friend, because if you know it well enough to teach it to someone else, that means that you've probably mastered the information. This last one I think is really important. Try to solve problems without using notes. It's one thing to follow along when your instructor is showing you something, but can you take that information and do it on your own without notes? Because that's what you'll have to do on your tests and quizzes. Another way that you can have a good quality of processing is to study using what we call the study cycle. This is from the LSU Center of Academic Success, and it's a holistic way to think of studying. Instead of just thinking, I'll go to class, review my notes, and then take a quiz, you can think of it as bigger than that. So before you even attend class, which is so important to attend class and actively participate, preview the material, look in Blackboard of what's coming ahead, or look at the chapter in your textbook and think of questions you could ask. Then attend class. Take notes, participate during the lecture, or if your class is all online, your way of attending could be looking through everything that's in Blackboard, completing everything that's in there. Afterwards, you can review, so don't just look at the information once and forget it, but go back to it maybe a day after class. Review what that information was. Again, think, do I know this well enough that I could teach it to a friend? Then that's when the studying really begins. You can have short, meaningful study sessions where you set a goal, study with focus, reward yourself, and review. And the last step is to assess. Think, are my study methods helping me? Is there a better way to do this? Could I talk to someone from the Learning Center or talk to my instructor about what would be a better way to write this essay or a better way to take this test and quiz? The last tip for today is quantity of processing. So in addition to quality, we want to do things frequently. Don't just cram the night before or wait until last minute to write your essay. Practice and write frequently. Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So really go back to that information and review it often. Active learning will change the way you study, and it will also change your brain. I think this is so cool that the brain is constantly in a state of changing as it learns new things. Before you learn, you have these neural pathways, but once you're learning and actively learning, your neurons in your brain are connecting, they're joining, they're creating new pathways of learning, and the more you review information, the stronger those pathways are so that you can remember, recall, and use that information in the future. So in summary, for active learning, have that mindset that you will try your very best and that you will find success and you'll go farther than you ever thought you could. And then utilize those active learning strategies, such as going over information again and again, setting goals when you're studying, creating outlines or mind maps. And finally, using those strategies will change your brain and make it so you can remember that information and use it in the future. So, what can you do starting now to become an active learner this semester? What behavior or thoughts will you commit to changing? I want to thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope that you can apply some of these principles to become an active learner this semester.